we're going to get a different view now. And for that, we turn to Robert George in the United States. He served on the U.S. President's Council on Bioethics 6 years ago. He's got a master's in theology from the Harvard Divinity School, and he joins me right now from Princeton, where he is a professor of law. Welcome to the program. You heard that debate. You heard the anguished decisions that parents in Belgium are now trying to make. From a bioethics standpoint, where do you come down on this?
Well, for me, Christiane, it's very clear. We should avoid medicalized killing at all costs. Doctors should not be in the business of killing. Once we breach the wall and turn people who are meant to be healers, whose vocation and mission is that of healers, into killers, and let's be clear, that is what's happening, causing death, deliberately causing death, undoubtedly in circumstances that are quite tragic. But once we cross that line, there simply is no stopping place to that. The Belgian parliamentarian couldn't give you a very good account of where the stopping place would be, and that's because there simply isn't one. We must never treat people as burdens or pressure them, which inevitably happens when you create the option of medicalized killing. We may say, well, it's just a choice that they're going to make without any influences, but there will be pressures. We all know that.
You say that, but of course there is the situation whereby some people are doing this in any event. Some doctors are participating in trying to mercifully end the lives of terminally sick children. Is it not better to make it legalized, at least, so that it's done humanely? Oh,
no. No, it's not better. What would be better is not to give up, not to abandon patients, to bring care, to ease suffering wherever possible. And we have many good techniques and pharmaceutical products and so forth these days to combat terrible pain. People need to feel as though we're going to be there for them, we're going to care for them, we're not going to abandon them. And as far as the medical profession, the answer when abuses take place is not to legalize the abuses and suddenly magically turn them into something other than abuses. Rather, it's to rebuild the ethic of Hippocratic medicine. The Hippocratic Oath, at the foundation of all medicine, had an explicit prohibition of causing death in this way, of medicalizing killing. We need to return to that and rebuild that in the medical profession so doctors won't try to find an easy way out by killing patients, even at their request, but rather will bring care and tell patients they are not burdens.
This has obviously been raging in the United States as well, certainly assisted suicide in certain states. Yes. Some of this is legal. Can I turn to the fact that you are a Roman Catholic and the Pope himself has just come out with the whole new Gospel of Joy, setting out some major reforms. He obviously actually stayed very close and hewed the line on Catholic doctrine when it comes to right to life. But what do you make of what he's done in terms of any kind of liberalization or progressiveness in the Catholic Church?
Well, it's a very interesting and I think quite wonderful document. He has labeled it an apostolic exhortation. It's exhorting the Catholic faithful to understand the gospel as a gospel of joy, not as a gospel of burdens, not as a gospel of drudgery, but a gospel of joy. And he's, of course, urged all Catholics to be evangelizers, to be spreading the gospel, not by hectoring people or proselytizing. He rejects that quite explicitly, but by living lives that set examples of the joy of the gospel. Now, on the specific question you asked, Christiane, he has opened a discussion on many issues. As you say, the doctrinal and moral teachings of the Church are settled. He doesn't purport to try to reopen those issues. He believes that they're good and right, and that's why the Church teaches them. But on a whole range of other issues, including the proper conduct of the papacy itself, he's opened a conversation. He wants to hear from his brother bishops. He wants to hear from clergy. He wants to hear from faithful men and women who have something to say, something to contribute about how the Church should confront the challenges of the contemporary world.
Mr. George, there are a lot of women today who are disappointed, Roman Catholic women, because obviously they vested a lot of hope in this new Pope to liberalize or improve the participation of women in the Church. Now, he's said frankly and blatantly that there would be no question of ordination of women, but he did suggest that there would be an increased role for women in the Church. How can you see that happening?
Well, first, let's remember that not all women have the same political or moral or religious views. There are women who are disappointed
Right, I'm talking
and don't
about
agree
those
with the
women.
teaching of the Catholic Church. Then there are women on the other side as well. Now, what the Pope has said here, which I think should be something that's received favorably by all women, whether they tend to be more conservative or more liberally, and indeed by all Catholics, and that is within the doctrinal structure of the Church, even laying aside the question of women's ordination, which the Pope says is settled and is not open for discussion, there are ways, the Pope says, for women to participate more actively in the life of the Church, including in the exercise of authority. There's no reason with many church offices that women cannot hold them just as well as men. These are non-ordinational offices, but they're important offices, offices through which the Church carries out its mission. So the Pope wants to see more women participating, and he wants to hear from all of us about ways in which women can participate more actively.